Ladies and gentlemen, this is your host, William Robinson, coming at you live today from the studios of Talk, Love, and Communication. I believe that all problems, circumstances, situations can be resolved through the proper channels of love and communication. Today we have a special guest, the active city councilor, Mr. Ire Bethea Sr. He's going to give us some wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, and put some wisdom upon us in our community and tell us why you should vote for Ire Bethea Sr. We only got one life to live, ladies and gentlemen. It's a whole lot easier with love and communication. Okay, we're going to give my guests a special round of applause today, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so how you doing today, Mr. Bethea?
I'm blessed. I'm doing great. Yes.
That's good. So I see you out on the trail. Every corner I turn, I see a sign up. Can you tell us exactly what district you're running from and who you are? Give us a little background, sir.
Well, I'm running for District 2. I am the incumbent. I am in that position at this time, and I would love to continue to be in that position to help my community live, work, and prosper. My background is I worked for the city for about 30 years. I also ran Boys and Girls Club. I worked for the Marion County Children's Alliance, going into the school system, going into the schools, 5 high schools and 1 middle school, talking to the youth about the law and about behavior, about character, and how to get involved and be active in their community.
You know, and speaking of character and being involved, you know, this is a community that you was born and raised in. So I know it means a lot to you to see this community prosper. Correct, sir?
Absolutely, absolutely. And we have did everything we could to bring about change in our community for the better.
And you know, when you get involved with the schools and the kids, tell me what kind of program that was, sir.
Well, I go to what is called the PASS program, which is an in-school suspension, and talk to young people that have probably already put one foot across the line. You know, the good book says the way to heaven is straight and narrow, or you can't serve. And he also said that you can't serve 2 masters, right? So meaning that you got to try to do the things that are correct, and it builds your character. All right. So I go in and I talk to them about the law. I talk to them about drug use. I talk to them about who they are and what their last name should mean to them, their surname. 99% of the children don't even know what you're talking about. When you ask them what their surname is, they're looking at you like you're crazy. Right. But these are things that basically are not taught anymore. So you go in and you talk to them and you try to help them understand who they are and that they can do anything if they put their mind to it.
That's right. I believe that also. And, you know, the children are the future. And it's important to, when you're in positions like yourself, sir, to reach out to the youth. You know, I can remember back from me being a kid, you know, I can always remember you at the auditorium at the Ed Croskett Center. You know, you ran the pool system. You know, you was over the recreation, and you was always willing to help the kids. And that's something that I admire about you, sir, and that's one of the main reasons that we're sitting across from this table. You and I believe that my audience should vote for Ire Bethea Sr. This is a wise man, a great man of our community. He loved the community. He loved people. He have made plenty of sacrifices for this community over the years, and we want him to continue to work in our behalf. And so when we talk about the city council, tell me what is the job for the people who don't know your responsibilities as a city councilor. Can you share that with us, please, sir?
Okay. First and foremost, we concern ourselves with the needs and the issues of our constituents and work to improve our city's neighborhood. Now, that encompasses the people in your immediate district and the whole city. we have this slogan. We had the slogan for 12, 15 years, one Ocala, one America. But we're always talking about issues that keep us divided instead of coming together and talk about things that can make us whole. And this is one of the things I want to do. First of all, unity in my immediate community, and then branching out into throughout the city.
That's correct.
And, you know, as we sit across the table now, we should sit across the table and communicate differences and the things that we have in common. And we will begin to understand one another much better.
You know, I see you use the word communication, communicate. You know, and the name of this podcast is Talk, Love, and Communication. So how important is communication in any form of relationship, sir?
Well, it's very important. But, you know, everybody don't communicate the same way. Well, you know, we have people that that do a lot of screaming, and we say ugly things back and forth to one another. That's a bad way to communicate, because the moment you start doing that, the party on the other side shuts their mind down.
They get defensive.
They get defensive. So there's no more communication there. Some people say that you lead from in front. You lead from wherever you are.
Amen.
Okay? You don't have to be out front. See, that's a me thing. The point is the results that you bring by your communication.
That's right. And, you know, communication is allowing the other person to understand. If I'm speaking a language that you do not understand, that's not proper communication. You know, if I'm talking over your head and I'm not comprehending what you're saying, that's not proper communication. You know, the Bible speaks of, you know, speaking in tongues with 1,000 words, and if no one's there to interpret it, it was no good of, you know, speaking in tongues, you know. And I noticed the work that you was doing, you know, last week, sir. I was fortunate enough to come out with you on the campaign trail, and, you know, door to door, you know, we dropped off some flyers, and, you know, you got great support in this community, you know. And how important is it to vote? I know we spoke about it before, but how important is it to vote? And for those who are not registered, what's the steps does it take to get registered?
So how important it is to vote? Well, if you don't vote, you have no voice. And why would you talk about what somebody in office is doing or not doing when you had an opportunity to voice or cast your vote? It's easy to get registered to vote. All you have to do is contact the supervisor of the election office, or you can go on their website. I mean, you can walk into the office, take you 5 minutes to go in and fill out the little paperwork. And you can become a registered voter in the city of Ocala and the Marion County elections, the state elections, the national election. It's very, very important. My dad taught me at an early age that when you turn 18, son, this is something you need to do, and you make your choice. And I think I may have missed one election all of these years because it's important. I engrave it into my family that, you know, it's important. You can't speak out up against anything if you don't cast your vote when it come time to vote.
You know, a lot of times in society and today, a lot of people could tell you what the problem is. But, you know, I shouldn't go to you with a problem unless I have some form of a solution. You know, and with that being said, if I'm going to complain about, you know, the elected official not doing this and not doing that, you know, in so many words, you know, if I don't like it, I go and cast my vote to make a difference. You know, we have the power to put the people in office that we feel that's going to work on our behalf. You know, that's why, you know, right now in our state, there's so many things going on with the voting rights. If it wasn't so important, they wouldn't be fighting against it. Amen. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
And we as a people have fought so hard to have the opportunity to vote. So it is important, and I believe that, we as a community, we are very powerful as one. Like you say, it's just not your district. Even though it's broken down in District 1, District 2, District 3, this is a Ocala thing, a Marion County thing as a whole. And I believe that you are a great part of this vision that we have, sir. We also have city council meetings also. Yes. Tell us about the city council meetings, where they're held, how long they're held for, and what issues can be resolved throughout the city council meetings.
Well, the city council meetings are held every first and third Tuesday at 4 p.m. at the City Hall, second floor, City Council chamber. All type of things come before the city council. And if you want to speak in the city council, you can come and speak. You sign this form, and you would possibly get 3 minutes to come and talk about whatever it is that you want to talk about, whatever concern that you have. It's very important for people to be a part of the process and be proactive and not reactive. If you come and sit in a city council meeting, you will hear about a lot of things that are going on throughout our city and throughout our county. And, it would enlighten you, and you'll understand more about processes. A lot of times, we have people say, well, I don't want this in my neighborhood, or I don't want this here, I don't want this here. But there are processes, and you have to learn about those processes, so now you know how to work, and you can go and share with other people these processes. Because we hear in the street a lot about this, that, and the other, but the conclusions that they are drawing is very incorrect because they don't know the process.
Okay, so let's say we had a city council meeting and I have an issue, I bring a topic up. After my 3 minutes, what's the process? What takes place amongst the city council members?
Well, it's according to what it is. We would share with the city manager that we want them to follow up on that. But I want you to understand something. That don't mean that something necessary is going to be done about that, because it may be a reason why this is not being done. And we would share with you, the council or city staff member will share with you what that is. Why?
So the issue at hand would not be addressed right then. It'll be something that'll be brought back up at the next city council meeting, correct?
Not necessarily. It's according to what it is, Mr. Williams. It's everything is not
black and white. Is not.
Well, no, it don't have to be held up. Again, we would direct a staff person, a director of a department, according to what it is, what the concern was that you have, to work with you on that issue. You see what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
And if it's something that they cannot do, then the council members, the president of the council, will ask us what do we want to do in regards to that, and then we would make the move to do.
Okay, I'm going to back up to the voting. Who can vote and who cannot vote? And, members inside the city limits only can vote, correct?
Right, for city elections. And so that people know, districts are not cut up in a block form. It's not a rectangle or a square. I might stay on one side of the road and you stay on the other side of the road, and you are not in the city limit.
Right.
If you take my district, for instance, District 2, it goes all the way out to 80th Avenue. But every house and thing that in between there is not necessary in my district. Correct. Or in the city limit.
Right.
So it's really, you have to look at the map, to see exactly how it's cut up.
And it's important to be informed,
yes.
To be educated. The Bible speaks of, say, my people perish for the lack of knowledge. So obtaining knowledge and understanding things will cause my concern to be more educated.
Right.
You know what I mean? To be more, and some of my concerns may go away if I'm knowledgeable in the right form. I can remember me and your first meeting when we sat down and talked a few months back. You was explaining to me about the drainage and the floodage in the city, the flooding and what it takes to just do one city block. And about 4 months later, we had a big flood here. And all I could think about was you and like how so many people don't understand what goes into it, but I had a greater understanding by sitting down having that conversation with you. And that's why it's important to go to these city council meetings and learn things that's important and to give you a broader understanding. Correct, sir?
Yes. And I want to make sure I say this. Not only a city council meeting, you go to county commission meeting, you go to school board meetings, you go to what is called a CEP, a Chamber of Economic Partnerships. That's your business people. You find out, you will know, you will have some idea what's coming into Ocala, what's here, what type of organizations, what type of businesses is in this area. So, like you're saying, being informed is like being educated. And now you have a better balance of what really goes on in your city.
That's correct, and that's very important. So Mr. Bethea, why did you become, when you first voted for city council, what was your passion? What drove you? What was your dream? Out of all the areas within the city that you could have, applied for, what made you become a city councilman, sir?
Well, let me say this. My passion was in my employment. I wanted to be a city manager. Well, the city manager is the one that oversees the day-to-day operation of the whole city. We have approximately 1,200 employees and 20 to 25 departments. Well, in essence of the word, I was denied that through the course of my work history. Well, when I retired, when the Lord told me it was time for me to come home, when I retired, I was working for the Marion County Children's Alliance, doing what I spoke to you about earlier, going into the schools and talking. And I had these people, these prominent people coming to me and saying, Ire, you need to run for public office. Well, at that moment in my heart, the Lord had not revealed that to me, but he did reveal it to me. And little did I know, even though it was people that kept me from the position of city manager, God had something else for me to do. Well, now I am in the position of city councilman, which oversees the overseer of the city.
That's right. Amen.
Okay. Well, it's not about me. It's about my love for my city and my community and the people, the citizens here. Again, I want to be that vessel that helped bring us all together and work on one accord for the betterment, hear me, for the betterment for the entire city.
And and sometimes the things that we want, God wants better. And if you would have got the city manager job, you may not be this great city councilman that you have been to us the last few years. And you shall be reelected again, and that's a great asset. So, even though your dream was one thing, God saw bigger. And a lot of times we have to just trust in the Lord. So with that being said, sir, you are a spiritual man, correct?
Absolutely, sir. I serve in my church as a deacon. I'm an adult Southern school teacher. And again, I serve in my community in a lot of different capacities.
And as a city councilman, moving forward, a lot of times in elections, and we see it in the presidencies and things, a lot of times they have plans in place and you can't get them done, like you say, because there's an order. There's things that takes time. You just can't it's not bewitched and you just flap your fingers and everything just happens. So it's things that you have set in place for the betterment of our community that we need you in this office to complete these things. Would you like to touch on some of the priorities that you have moving forward, sir?
Sure. One of my pet peeves is public safety. And in that, it's a lot to it. First of all, I would like to make sure that we have the adequate public servants in the offices of firefighters, police officers, EMTs, and I want them to be highly qualified. I also want a diverse workforce within the confines of those departments. I want to make sure that our health is good. Secondly, is affordable housing or workforce housing. Well, the term affordable housing means different things to different people. I look at it from the standpoint of a poor person. What is affordable? And at this point in time, for the most part, none of the homes that they are building for the most part is considered affordable, even though we use that term.
Right.
Prayerfully, the economic situation will back down, and these prices will come back down. I doubt if they ever go back to where they were, but they would go back down where people can afford to live in. Okay, so the city of Ocala, we get certain funds annually from the government to help people recondition their homes, their existing homes, and sometimes we are able to talk to developers about properties that we now own and be able to work out some agreement with them to come in and build homes at a lower cost than those other homes that are being built, because we provide them with the land.
And it's funny you say that, because when you are personally affected by something, that's when it means the most to you.
Right.
And I have a uncle and an aunt on my wife's side that just got their home completely remodeled.
Right.
For free.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, it's a home that's in the community, had been there a while, and they came in and totally revamped their home. And there's programs like that makes a difference, generational difference, because that home was passed down from generation to generation. And now that it has been restored to a new form, it can continue to be passed down. And how important is diversity in leadership?
It's very important. You see, we have to be able to see all sides of the spectrum. And in high offices, normally there's only people in those positions that have. So they have businesses. They run businesses and all. So they look at it from a different perspective than an individual as I do.
Right.
Because I am there. I've been there. And I'm digging my way out of the trenches. But I'm sharing with them and enlightening them on these things that they're not really aware of, because they have not stepped a step in my shoes.
Right.
As we would say.
Some people, they may see you now, Ire Bethea Sr., one of the greatest city councilmen we ever had in this city, with the crisp yellow shirt, the high top fade, this handsome 70-year-old man sitting across from me. And they think you always had it made. See, but when you come from the struggle and you're a compassionate man within your heart, you never forget where you come from. How important is that, sir? And would you like to share a story from your past?
Well, I'm hoping that I'm a humble individual, but I do believe that the people in this Ocala, Marion County community, especially that have lived here for many, many years, some kind of way I have been a part of their lives, whether I was out at the college for 30 years teaching aquatics. I've one of the leading lifeguard instructors in the state of Florida, and I wasn't just a lifeguard instructor, I was a lifeguard instructor trainer. I taught the teachers how to teach the lifeguarding as well. And not only that, I taught in the summer for the county, and I was all out there, the Mills Dam and Camp Kiwanis and all of those places that a lot of times we don't go. I have a firm interest in getting minorities into areas that they normally don't go to, like water. fire, police, and utilities, electric. There is big money to be made in these areas. But because we have a fear of electricity, we don't endeavor
Right.
fire,
And that's when you were speaking earlier about the safety.
Yeah.
Safety is important to you when it comes to these positions. And, I believe that everyone is a representation of the leader.
Mm-hmm.
It trickles down. If you're in the city council and you're over these positions, everybody's going to everything falls under your authority. Therefore, they're going to be a representation of you. And if safety is first, that is something that you will put in the forefront of all your employees, correct, sir?
Yeah, definitely. Safety is first.
Mm-hmm.
But away from the employees to people, and to get back to the safety element of police and fire and things of that nature in the minority community. A lot of time, the first time that a child encounter a police officer is when he's kicking in the door to their home,
mm-hmm.
or to their uncle's home or whatever. We want that to change. We want them to see them in a positive way. That's why that I advocate community policing, which in essence meaning that as police officers doing their day-to-day duty, they encounter people, they get outside their cars, they talk to people, so that when there's a problem, people will come to them.
Mm-hmm.
Now, having said that, I want to say this. In our community, and I'm talking about the minority community at this time, we have a big problem, and the problem is us. The problem is that we're doing things to each other. But when the police come to try to apprehend the individuals that are doing these things, we keep our mouth shut. But we want the police to do something about it. Then you flip that. Now something happens to us, our family. We want somebody else
to tell.
Yeah.
And it goes back to what we were saying. Some things doesn't matter until it personally affects them.
Right.
The world is kind of a me. The Bible speaks of it's going to get worse and worse. As far as the selfishness of individuals. But community and unity is so important, and that's something that I've always witnessed you extend to our community. Is unity. You've always tried to bring people together. Even within the family and gatherings, and and to see you communicate with people and to interact with people. You always smiling. You stern. You always been stern, but that's what it takes sometimes. To respect is given and receive. And I believe that you'll be a great man to continue in this office. When we talk about the police force, a lot of times it's a misperception.
Right.
A pastor was talking about, he was out doing a street ministry, and when he seen the police car come up, he thinking within his head, oh Lord, here they come to aggravate us, to bother with us, whatever. And he said that the police officer came up to him, and he immediately went to explaining, hey man, I'm out here trying to help the community, da. And the police officer had water in his eyes,
mm-hmm.
and allowed this man to preach to him and to pray to him. So sometimes, we get a misconception, and we can't be so defensive and think bad. Because in the end, that man, his job is to protect and serve, and you can't put everyone in the basket with the bad person.
Right.
Because these are human beings. They no different than the man that work at McDonald's.
Right.
He doing a job trying to protect his family. And like he was, saying to earlier, I don't like the police when I'm the bad guy. But if my mom called me and say someone breaking in, the first thing I'm going to say is call the police.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? Me, myself, I have been on the opposite end of the law. You know, as you know, I done 18 years in prison, but it's what I did with that time.
Right.
You know, it's about looking in the mirror and realizing, hey, it's not the judge's fault. It's not the prosecutor's fault. It's not the officer's fault. It was William Robinson's fault. And what I had to do to be better, and I think that's what we need to do in the community. You know, so we're going to speak on the EMTs. How important is it that for them to have the proper training and also have the compassion in their heart to help the community? Because I believe that you have to have a special kind of heart to work in those type fields, sir.
Well, in any of the safety fields, you have to have that. That's just like even a teacher in the school system. They are compassionate about teaching, because without that compassion, they won't be there. Because of all the things they have to take. The EMTs and all are the lowest paid people in their field. And, you know, they deserve to be able to take care of their families. And we at the city is trying to do everything we can to upgrade our pay scales in all the areas of the city organization.
Who exactly determines that? I mean, what office, what part of the Marion County, you know, political party or whatever that determines the pay scale for certain individuals, you know, and that, like, for example, the EMTs?
Well, it's not. It's the organization that you're in. So if it's the city determines it. It's city council. But always remember this now. Every field has a standard wage, okay? And then when you are below that standard, you're hurting those individuals that work for you, because they can't have the quality of life that they so deserve. Okay, so the city of Ocala do. But one of the things you have to remember, and everybody has to remember, you are the taxpayer. You are the city. And even if we're underpaying somebody at this moment, we can't not just jump up, you know, an exorbitant amount of money. It takes time. And we have been doing that for the last 3 years, increasing the wages for our employees throughout. And if I'm not mistaken now, I don't want to say something that's wrong, but I believe our minimum wage right now is right at the $15 mark. Okay? But now, think about this. In the day's costs, even somebody making $15 an hour is still hurting. But my point to you, we have to present a balanced budget to the state every year. So we can't we don't have endless money. And guess where that money comes from? And I'm glad you brought this up.
The taxpayers.
It comes from the taxpayers, but that means that your taxes going to increase, or your utility bill going to increase, or your property taxes going to increase. I mean, there's no endless, you know, amount of money, funds to do things with.
You know, and it's important, you know, you mentioned to me earlier in a sit down about the infrastructure of our city and our county and the roads. Would you like to touch on that, sir?
Yes. Well, we are doing everything we can to make sure that we have adequate roadways, sidewalks, bike trails. One of our goals with the city of Ocala is connectivity. For you to be able to go to one place to another, even in walking. So to have the sidewalks so that you can walk from the Mary Sue Rich Center to the West Park, where they're building the new apartments and homes out where the golf course was, or where you want to walk to the War Memorial Auditorium, the Kroski Center. We want you to be able to be connected. We also want to provide like bike trails and bike lanes and stuff, so your bicycle you can follow your lane to where you're going.
Right.
Okay. Now, with the increased population, and as of yesterday, the CEP said there's 1,000 people. I believe it said 1,000 people moving into Ocala, Marion County a month. That's a lot.
1,000 people per month.
Yeah, now, he may have said it was a week, but I think he said it was a month, all right? Think about how many more people that is in a year, all right? So now, we building the homes, we building all this other stuff, and the developers will build roads within that development. But those roads connect back to the main roads that we now have, what we call our arteries here in Ocala, which is 200, 40, and 27, Pine, Marion Camp, those major roadways. But we're going to have to build other arteries, which mean other side roads, because people don't want you coming into their neighborhoods, cutting through their neighborhoods.
The heavy traffic.
Heavy traffic. So we have to find a way to do that, and we're working on it.
And it's the pros and the cons. You know,
Yes.
You got to give and take a little bit. That's the reason why you talk about the community and the unity, and to go to these city council meetings to be able to have an understanding. You know, like you was talking to me about just the budget that it takes in one city block. When that new apartment building comes, just to have the proper drainage, it costs. You know what I mean? And no one thinks about where this money come from. You know, let's talk about the flooding, sir.
Well, the main thing is if you look around Ocala, you will see that there's a lot of retention ponds. And we have to have places where water can go to. It's a thing called a 100-year flood zone, meaning that in 100 years, there's going to be a major catastrophe, flooding, that water got to be able to go to. Because if not, you know, you're going to flood out your town and all that kind of stuff. So that's one of the reasons you see all the retention areas that you see in Ocala. I always say, man, that's a mighty lot of land that's not being used. But it is. When we have major water, if you ever paying attention to it, places that that you never see water in the retention ponds, all of a sudden you see a bunch of water. Yeah. That's why we do that.
That's correct. You know, we're gonna speak on the TOP, the Marion County, transportation, sir. Would you like to comment on that?
Well, there's an organization in Ocala called the Ocala Marion County Transportation Organization. This organization is basically deals with transportation issues, roadways. The state is involved in it, the city, the county commission, and the city council. And we sit on this board, and we work diligently to provide the type of roadways and things that we need here in Ocala. It's a transportation planning organization, and that's what we do. We look at the areas in Ocala and in Marion County and how we can access roads from this way, that way, what is going on in these areas, what is needed in these areas. So we don't just be twirling our thumbs. And just so that you know, the city council meeting is not the only meeting that a city council person attends. We have to attend a lot of other organizational meetings because that help us stay in the know of what's going on in those other major organizations.
That's correct.
And what they are doing.
That's correct. So, Mr. Bethea, who was the greatest influence in your life, sir?
It's really hard to say. My dad was William Jackson, Mr. Ed Krosky, Mr. Ben Mathis. I mean, I can go on and on and on. I'll tell you two people also that influenced me and backed me a lot when I was working, when I came to the city. One was Dave Pritchett, and the other one was the city manager, Scotty Andrews.
What are you most proudest of? What are your most proudest moments in life, sir?
Well, my family is my number one proud. My wife and my 7 kids. when I look around, even in the District 2 community, and see the accomplishments that we had something to do with, it makes you feel good that, that God put you in a position where you can be influential in helping getting things accomplished that people need.
Mm-hmm.
We as a people and the general whole Ocala.
And working with the public, it's so rare, for me to talk to your kids and hear them speak so highly of you. What a person say when you're not there means a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes as kids and parents, sometimes we have a tendency to, yeah, dad, mom, da-da-da, but your kids speak so highly of you, and they talk about this great man almost as if you're not their father. It's just like it's someone else they know, you know what I mean? And they speak very, very highly of you. And you also have kids that work in the public and deal with the community and things of that nature. And that's something that I'm quite sure that they obtain from you, being able to see you over the years, and you inspired them to also be great members of this community also. So how would you like to be remembered, sir?
Mm-hmm. Well, I can't really answer that. I just want to say this, that as long as I'm here on this side, I'm going to do what the Lord would have me to do. And I can honestly say this, I live through him, and I'm just trying to do all I can do for mankind as long as I'm on this side.
Amen. So if you had to describe love in one word, what would it be?
Jesus.
Jesus. Don't get no better than that.
Don't get no better than that.
That's the word, period.
Yes,
Jesus, period.
Yes.
That's a whole sentence within itself.
Yes.
So tell me what the future holds for you, sir.
Well, the future holds 4 more years on the city council.
Amen.
I believe wholeheartedly that the Lord still want me there, but I do know this: if not there, wherever it is He would have me to serve, I will be there doing just that.
Okay, so at this portion of the show, we're going to have a episode that's called Fill in the Blank. I'm going to ask you some questions. You ask them precisely, quickly, and the first thing come to mind, sir. I've always wanted to.
Oh, what I always wanted to do. Serve my community.
Serve my community, and you're doing that, sir. You're doing a great job, sir. I love when someone
say thank you.
If I had to do it all over again, I would.
I would do it all again.
My favorite holiday is
Thanksgiving.
It aggravates me when people
don't try.
The best quality someone can have is
integrity.
If I was God, the first thing I would do
I probably would smile.
Smile. Okay. If I could travel anywhere in the world, it would be
visit family.
My favorite movie is
Gunsmoke.
So you sitting there looking at them westerns all day, huh? You better believe it. Jesus is
love.
If I could go back to any age, it would be
37.
Why 37?
I thought it was a good time.
Good time. Good time, 37. When I meet someone, the first thing I notice is
the way they stand.
Their posture.
Their posture.
Batman or Superman?
Superman.
The Incredible Hulk or Captain America?
Captain America.
Waiting to Excel or Soul Food?
Soul Food, man.
Marvin Gaye or Teddy Pendergrass?
That's hard, though.
That's a hard one.
That was a hard one. I'm going to take Teddy.
Okay.
Turn
Okay.
off the lights.
Turn off the lights. Okay.
The party's over.
Prince or Michael Jackson?
I deal with Michael. Michael, my boy.
Whitney Houston or Beyonce?
Whitney.
Chevrolet or Ford?
Chevrolet. I don't want no fix and repair daily.
Okay. McDonald's or Burger King?
McDonald's.
Pizza Hut or Domino's?
Domino's.
Popeyes or KFC?
Lee's.
Okay, okay. I hate Lee's got rid of the okra and tomatoes, man. I hate that. I tell you what, Mr. Bethea, this is the last segment of the podcast, and you, Ire Bethea Jr., get to ask me anything.
Well, I would ask you why you do this, but I already know that. But I'm going to ask you that so that you can expound on that to your audience.
You know, when I was in prison, I done 18 years in prison. I had surgery, and as I was fasting, meditating, and praying, the word podcast kept coming to me. I never heard the word in my life. So I came home. I asked people what is a podcast. I studied a little bit, got a little distracted, fell, broke my leg. It kind of put me in the mind of Jonah. Go preach to the city of Nineveh. I was a little hard-headed, a little stubborn. So as I laid up in that bed with a broke leg for 3-4 months, I studied podcasts. I said, well, Lord, if you let me walk again, I'm going to get up and do the podcast. And when I got up out that bed and started limping around, I'm limping around now, and I've been podcasting since, sir.
All right. Okay. Great. And you're doing a great job.
Thank you, sir.
I think that the people in the community really pay attention to your podcast and things of that nature, and you do a good job with your interview questions, etc. May God keep you. May God bless you.
Okay, Mr. Bethea, I want you to, this the end, the lasting part, I want you to look into my shoulder, into this camera here, sir, and I want you to give my audience any last words, any final thoughts, and your message to the community, sir.
It is very important that, first of all, that you get registered to vote. Now, it's probably too late to register for this election, but in the future, please register to vote, become an active advocate for change. Be a hero, not a Nero. You need to do that. Vote Ire Bethea on September 19th. I want to take and continue to make Ocala a great place to live, work, and prosper. Thank you very much.
Okay, look into the camera and tell them where do they vote at. Where are the voting precincts to make sure the times that they're open for and where they can go at, sir.
Well, the voting precincts are the same except for the ones on the west, in West Ocala. So the one that's in West Ocala is at, first of all, if you went to the Methodist Church by Clark Funeral Home, is now across the street on the safety campus, the first responders campus. That's on MLK, right across the railroad tracks from Clark's Funeral Home and Madison Street School. If you voted at Lillian Brown, it's now at the Mary Sue Rich Center. It would be at the Mary Sue Rich Center. And I do believe if you voted at Hampton campus, you still may vote now at the First Responders campus on MLK. The voters It's Tuesday, September the 19th, from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Hey, we look forward to seeing you at the polls. And we will see the results later on in the evening. Thank you very much. Have a great one.
This is your host, William Robinson, once again coming at you live from the studios of TLC. I want to thank my special guest, Mr. Ire Bethea Sr. I want you guys to get out and vote for this great man in our community. We only got one life to live, ladies and gentlemen, and it's a whole lot easier with love and communication. If you want to support and donate to this channel, this podcast, my cash app is Anybody Love You with a U. PayPal is Robinson74William@gmail.com. Support this channel. And don't you forget, if no one told you they love you today, William Robinson loves you.